So this next video is going to look at the layers, the 6 layers that are associated with the neuronal cell bodies of the CNS. And these are found in the cerebral cortex. So if we start with the outer layer, which is the molecular layer, this layer is going to contain the apical ends of the dendrites. So basically, if we were to think about it, as the dendrites are going up, it's going to be the tips of the dendrites that are going to be in this layer right here. And what this is important for, it's basically your feedback interaction. So it's going to be all about feedback interactions. So they're going to be mainly focusing with learning and attention, specifically associative learning. So basically, how do we know a chair looks like a chair? It's because we're associating what that is. The next layer is of the small pyramidal cells. And this is going to be the external granular layer. And as I said, it's going to have your small pyramidal cells. And a lot of stellate neurons. This layer alone isn't one that there's a lot of information on. So when I was trying to get some info to kind of understand the layer a little bit better, it was hard to find information on it. Most of what's known, there's a lot known on this third layer right here. And this is the one that's going to have your pyramidal and the non-pyramidal. And I should say, with these stellate neurons, the types that are common, and this is mainly seen in the fourth layer right here, the types that are common, you're going to have the inhibitory interneurons, the excitatory spiny, and the inhibitory aspiny. And in later videos, we're going to talk about what I mean by this. But for now, this one's just giving you a brief overview of where you can find these. And then this layer is also, which is layer 4, is where it's the internal granular layer. And I should say the reason they called the stellate neurons is because they're star-like, and they're formed by dendritic processes coming from the cell body. So if you think about the cell body, as these are coming from the cell body, they almost look like stars, and so that's where the name comes from. And then now that we're in the 5th layer, this layer before I forget one thing, layer 4 that we're talking about right here, this is the one that's going to lead to your thalamocortical afferents. And what this means is your thalamus, as you know, is going to be involved with memory. So this is the one that's going to be important in that integration. So just remember that these projections are going to go into the thalamus, the cortical region of the thalamus, and it's going to be really important in this, specifically in relaying sensory and motor signals. So you want to make sure that this area is functioning correctly. Layer 5, on the other hand, the large pyramidal cells of layer 5 they're going to give rise to axons that are going to leave the cortex, running down the subcortical structure. So here we're going to have our axons that are going to basically relay signals up and down. The important thing is this is the area that you have the BET cells, and they are giant pyramidal cells in the gray matter of the primary motor cortex. So if we think about layer 4 and 5, these two guys are going to be related to each other in that they're going to have projections leading to the primary motor cortex. Layer 5 is also where you're going to have the largest number of neurons of the CNS. And these are all cells of the upper motor neurons that send their axons down to the spinal cord via the corticospinal tract. So this is a very important layer and a pretty well-known layer. And lastly, we're going to have layer 6, which is going to be your polymorphic or multiform layer. And what that means is this is the layer that's going to have, it's going to be basically changing, so it's a very dynamic layer. It's going to have very few large pyramidal cells. So if you think about it, when we're comparing layer 5 and 6, 5 had a lot of large pyramidal cells, while 6 does not. Now 6 is going to send efferents fibers to the thalamus. So now we said originally that layer 4 was going to be sending afferent fibers. Now we're going with the efferent fibers. So just remember, the distinction between 4 and 6 is afferent versus efferent fibers. And and so basically this is going to be your connection between, this is going to connect the cortex to the thalamus. And these are basically excitatory neurons that are going to fire to the thalamus and provide input to the same cortical column. So what that means is, as we're sending excitatory stimuli down through the thalamus, it's going to affect the same side. So it's going to be an ipsilateral interaction and not a contralateral interaction. So what that means is, if we have, say, two eyeballs, right, you can have a connection that goes like this, which is considered contralateral. But if they're going down the same, all the way down the same path, it's going to be ipsilateral, or the same. Hopefully that kind of cleared some of your questions about the different neuronal cell bodies. This is I would say it's a still developing topic, and most of the information I found was kind of limiting. So I hope this helped out. If you have any questions, comments, write them below. I'll do my best to answer any you have. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel.